from the crypt.
Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to episode 169 of Dads from the Crypt. My name is Jason. I'll be your host tonight. Joining me, we have Mondo.
Hello.
Hello. And Jody.
Hello.
Hello, guys. And then joining us, special guest, is Mr. Andrew Bowser. Welcome back.
Hello. Thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Always a pleasure. And you have we're just going to get right into it. You have a new project that you're working on.
I do. I have a short film that I actually have some bigger plans for that I haven't talked about publicly. So this is a news drop. But I have a short film called Frankenbabes from Beyond the Grave, which we've already shot. There was a crowdfunding campaign run by the cast earlier. And that was enough to get us through production. And now I'm leading a crowdfunding campaign for the post-production funds. And so the nice thing is you can see moments from the film, and there's a lot of assets and photos and logos, etc. So it's not like my last crowdfunding campaign for the Onyx film, where it was like, this isn't getting made unless this thing is successful. You're able to watch bits of the movie and get a feel for it before you decide whether or not you want to back it. And then the rewards this time are virtual. It's basically getting the opportunity to watch the film unfinished and have access to watching like multiple cuts of it while I get further along in the post-production process. And then there's a tier where you can even have like a weekly Zoom with me where I talk about film and specifically the production of Frankenbabes. So I'm kind of trying something different with crowdfunding to see if there's interest, because a lot of times the physical rewards are the thing that makes crowdfunding so difficult.
Yeah.
The back end is just crushing. But my plans with this project are that I want it to actually eventually become a musical movie feature.
Oh, cool.
Like Little Shop and, Rocky Horror. The way Little Shop started as a Corman movie. This short is kind of the proof of concept Corman style version of what I want to evolve into a proper feature musical.
Yeah, that's an interesting model. I really like that because I love behind the scene footage and seeing the making of.
Yeah.
But you're putting out before or as you're making it. So it's like reverse. You get to watch behind the scenes stuff before the film is finished.
Well, and what's funny is there's a cut of the movie where I've done a lot of temp even music with just my own. I'm just there going do do da do 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 dee. And then there's like missing VFX shots where a whiskey bottle is thrown at a wall and there's just a little PNG of a Jack Daniels bottle right now. And the cast and producers have reviewed that cut, and their comment was always how much they love the unfinished aspects of it because it makes for an enjoyable watch. And that's one of the things that gave me this idea, because I'm just so used to seeing cuts go from rough to final. I forget how many awkward stages a project has, which is really fun to kind of ride shotgun too.
That's cool. The way you talk about that, because I go to a lot of like test screenings of movies, and oftentimes the effects aren't finished, but so they have like really rough like PS1 level effects. But I'm like, I kind of like that better than whatever they're going to put in. It's just so charming.
Yeah, one time I went to a test screening of Warcraft. And I think the work print of that was more enjoyable than the final, because it just provided all of these moments of unintentional levity.
Yeah.
And, literally there would be just like a green screen all of a sudden, or like a rubber hammer or rubber rocks falling down. And I found the movie when it was finished to be quite tedious to sit through, but the work print was a blast.
Yeah. One of them was for a live action version of an animated Disney movie. It's not out yet. But,
yeah.
They used the original animation for the main character in amongst the live action elements as a placeholder until they finished the CGI. And I'm like, that's kind of awesome.
I've heard about this. I think I know what you're talking about. I think I know some friends that have seen that exact film at a test screening.
We'll have to talk. We can talk about that.
Yeah, we can offline about it. Yeah.
But so, first of all, who's in the cast?
So Frankenbabes is made up of a crew of sex positive content creators and performers, because the statement of the film is really about body autonomy and women defining who they are for themselves. And so the cast is this inclusive array of content creators and performers. Their names are Penny Barber, Little Puck, Savannah Solo, Cheyenne Wise, Melissa Drew, who was in my Onyx sizzle reel like 2 years ago with the puppets, Hex Hypoxia, and Bunny Black, and Stephanie Michelle. And then the villains of the piece are a mortician and a pastor, played by Jimmy Simpson from Westworld. And It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And then Dana Ashbrook plays the pastor. He's from Twin Peaks. And also from Return of the Living Dead. Is it part 2? I think he's in.
I love Return of the Living Dead too.
Yeah, he plays such a good hunky boyfriend in the 80s, and he plays a really great Silver Fox now. And he was on Twin Peaks The Return as well. But they're just both fantastic in it. And so you've got these colorful Frankenbabe characters that look like they've stepped out of a EC Comics panel, and then really dark and darkly funny performances from Jimmy and Dana. So it's a eclectic mix. It's really fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
And where can people go to support this?
So honestly, the easiest thing is, I mean, actually, let's check to see if the URL works, but frankenbabes.com takes you right to the Kickstarter. And the Kickstarter has been going really well. And I think I think it's because of Onyx and because of, my history with crowdfunding, but I also think it's because of the performers involved. They each have their own social media following, and it's a good test for me to see if this is the way I could maybe continue to make short films and proof of concepts for features, is to return to Kickstarter as a platform. And I've been encouraged so far. I mean, we'll see. We're less than a week into the campaign, but I don't want to stop making content, and YouTube and Patreon and TikTok never really were working for me. So I'm kind of doing this to see if Kickstarter could be where I go to do individual projects each time.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone I've talked to that's seen Onyx really, really enjoyed it. And was that CFF? I can't remember.
Yeah,
it was a CFF a couple years ago.
Yeah, that was one of our best screenings. That was so much fun.
That was a blast.
Yeah, so hopefully, all the people that love that movie, parlays into that, and you get some more, and it gets bigger and bigger. So that sounds awesome. I'm really excited to see this.
Yeah.
So is the short a musical, or is it more just straight?
No, this is my pattern with doing shorts and proof of concepts, is that it takes me making the thing to get the idea for the feature. I made a short a couple of years ago that played at CFF during the pandemic called Little Willie.
Yeah.
And I made that short, and then right after I went to write the feature, and the short kind of unlocked ideas for the feature. And I used to feel remorse because of working that way. I used to think like, well, why did I make the short when I should have waited until I had? And then I realized I think that's my process, because I like making things. I don't like ideating for too long, and I like the rubber hitting the road. So the second I made the Frankenbabe short, and I was sitting with the edit, and I thought, man, I really like this. What would this be as a feature? And when I thought of the short stretched to feature length, something wasn't clicking and engaging me enough. Even though as a short, it's a really satisfying little tale, mini Tales from the Crypt episode. And then when I realized Rocky Horror, and I'm a big musical guy, I don't know if your audience will care, but I saw Wicked 2 nights ago and I cried. So, and Little Shop is my favorite. Little Shop is my absolute favorite. Yeah. And when I realized this would almost live better in that subgenre, I got so excited at the idea. And I talked to my composers about it, and they were like, do you know how much we love Howard Ashman and Little Shop of Horrors? This is our dream. And so we've already started mapping out an outline for the feature and song titles.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And to be honest, it's nice to share the creative workload with someone else, because they're building out the story just as much as I am. So we can kind of ping pong back and forth. And the onus isn't just on me to sit here and write 90 pages straight of something that's coming out of my brain.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's been like a real trend of horror musicals. The one like the Saw, the Evil Dead, the Exorcist have all gone like these like really
Reanimator. Yeah.
Grassroots musicals. And I'm not a musical whatsoever, but when I saw The Exorcistic in person, I had a blast. It was so much
I know.
fun.
I saw that twice.
Oh, really?
I saw it at Midsummer Scream, and then I went to one of the showings, one of their performances that was just in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because I liked it so much. Yeah, I was really taken by that.
That's like the only musical soundtrack I listened to.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something I think underserved in that community. Like I know we have Repo, the Genetic Opera, and there's definitely been dark musicals. Sweeney Todd and Phantom, but I think there is. I'd like to see Frankenbabes as a horror musical with just great blood effects. I mean, it would start as a movie, but if it ever got to be a stage production, like live blood effects. I was inspired by the Purge stunt show at Horror Nights this year, which was just like spraying blood everywhere. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm picturing like Frankenhooker as a musical.
Yeah. Well, it kind of started as I used to do a podcast where one of the little segments was it had a clever segment title. Now I'm forgetting, but the joke was like Reanimated or Let It Stay Dead was like the joke. And it was basically, are there older films that might be quote unquote problematic to some degree, but that have really strong premises that are worth a remake? Or, are they just too bogged down by their kind of aged out politics? Like, do you remake Sleepaway Camp or do you remake Frankenhooker? Even though Frankenhooker really does have some interesting social messaging in there. And it came from that discussion because we were talking about Frankenhooker and maybe what would need to be different about it. And I was interviewing a sex worker on the podcast. And so then that's why when I built out the project, the people that are involved in sex work that are involved in the film were very much a part of the creative process. Like they read every draft of the script and gave thoughts. They're producers on the film.
That's cool.
And I think that's something that maybe Frankenhooker was missing was like, I don't know. Maybe Henenlotter did the research and talked with sex workers. I don't know. It's a wild movie.
I mean, for the time,
yeah. But I still go back to Frankenhooker because it has such an iconic character design and her performance is great.
Yeah, definitely.
She's hilarious.
All right. Well, again, good luck with the crowdfunding and everything. We wish you the best. And everyone, we highly encourage our listeners to go check it out.
Definitely. Thank you.
As a recuperating theater kid, this is right up my alley. So yeah I'm definitely going to check this out. I could tell you every word to the Little Shop soundtrack right now if we want to go into it. So
do it.
We can.
You're speaking my language right now.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. I was just listening to Little Shop today. Actually, I bought it. I used to have the vinyl when I was younger, but I was at a flea market last week and I rebought the vinyl because I didn't have it anymore. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, tonight we are discussing, Thanksgiving just passed, so we're giving you a little bit of leftovers of some Thanksgiving cheer. Oh man, what do we even call this movie? Is it The Nightmare at Shadow Woods? Is it Slasher, or mostly known as Blood Rage? A film with many titles. Sometimes the wrong one is shown on screen than the one listed on the box. A movie that was filmed in 1983 and then come out to 1987, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is a gem of a movie, but I'm gonna let Jody, and I'm really excited for this, try to tell me what the hell happens in this movie.
Can I ask you a question about the titles real quick?
Go for it.
Were there ever any titles that were a play or a pun on the twin aspect of this movie?
You would think.
I mean, those are the three that I can find. But
that's a miss right there.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I personally take it as a sign of quality when you have a title for a movie, but then a different one pops up midway through. Like, that you're in for something good. You put on oh shoot, I'm suddenly forgetting the name of it. Fall Break is the title that pops up. Just made a sequel by Hook, by Sword, by
Mutilator.
My brain went, yeah.
We both buzzed in at the same time on that one.
I could remember literally everything about that movie other than the title just now. But yeah, Mutilator, as soon as you start it up, Fall Break pops up on the screen. And I love that movie. This is the same thing. We're watching Blood Rage. Slasher pops up. You know you're in for a good time. All right. Plot for this movie. All right. We start with a pair of twins, Todd and Terry, who are hanging out in the back seat of their mom's car as she makes out at the movie theater on a date. And the young boys, they're probably, I don't know, 10 or so. They wake up suitably disturbed at mom making out in the front seat. So they leave and go roam around the drive-in. And apparently one of them, Todd and Terry, Terry has been triggered by seeing his mom make out with this guy. And so he takes a hatchet and murders a random teenage guy who's having sex with his girlfriend in the backseat of a car. And as people start screaming, he wipes a little blood on Todd's face, hands him the weapon. And apparently that's all the investigation that was needed for this to happen. Nobody asked questions. They're just like, kid's got blood on his face. Must have been him. Even though both the kids are actually covered in blood at that point.
And it's not established that Todd, the one that was framed, it's not established that he was that he didn't speak before that, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's even a witness, like the girlfriend is still alive.
But they're twins. How could you tell?
Yeah. It's like they're if they're wearing the same outfit, okay. But
yeah.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. Now it's
the part that I don't get is both boys are covered in blood. One of them has blood from committing the murder, and the other one has like a smear on his face. They're like, the one with stuff on his face, that's the one who did it.
Yeah. Well, he hands him the weapon, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
they didn't have forensics in the 80s.
Right.
It's kind of like when you were a kid. If someone broke someone's window with the baseball, you handed the bat to the person you didn't like and you ran away.
Yeah, that's true.
And they got blamed for it. Same thing.
That's true.
Because of all this, Todd, who is too traumatized by seeing this murder to speak, he goes quiet and he is found guilty and committed to an asylum. Then we jump 10 years to 1984, which was 3 years before this movie actually was released. Terry is living with his mother in this apartment complex called Shadow Woods. And on Thanksgiving Day, his mom announces to everybody gathered that she's getting married. And apparently this sets Terry off again. He's real close to his mom. Real close to his mom. And so it's very upsetting for him. At the same time, Todd has been starting to remember and starting to speak. And he's been telling his psychiatrist, hey, I didn't kill anybody. It was my brother. And so all these things are happening once Todd escapes from the asylum. And so Terry has all the excuse he needs to go on another murder spree. He starts with his soon-to-be new stepdad, Brad. He chops off Brad's hand with a machete and then splits his head down the middle. And for a 1980s movie that's like a very low-budget one, there's some good gore in this movie. Like it's fun gore.
There is some good gore. And also, I should have said this up front. I think the version I watched edited some of the gore out.
Yeah, there's a lot of versions floating around out there.
Okay, because I watched it, I hate to say, but I watched it on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And I was watching it full focus. It didn't have my phone or anything. And I was missing things. And I would rewind and watch it again and still miss it. And then I realized it was actually jump cutting. But I don't think it was jump cutting purely for gore, because they showed stuff like the Brad thing in full. I don't know why there were missing moments. I thought it was the violence, but I don't think that's what it was.
Also, I don't think the editing is very good.
Maybe it was just the edit. Yeah, maybe it was just the edit.
But, shout out though to Ed French did the effects.
Yeah.
He did like Midnight Meat Train.
Terminator 2. He was involved in that.
Terminator 2, a shit ton of things. Some of the Hellraiser movies. So
that's cool.
Yeah, we'll get more into that in a minute. But yeah, Jody, keep going.
All right. So Todd's doctor and her assistant arrive at Shadow Woods, and Terry kills both of them. Stabs the assistant with a machete, and then cuts the doctor in half, just like leaving both halves like squirming around out in the woods. Again, pretty cool effect. Then he goes and visits this brand new neighbor who's babysitting, and she tries to seduce him. And I don't know if he's just oblivious or completely uninterested, but he blows it off so that he can watch a horror movie on TV.
I think he's already infatuated with another person.
His heart belongs to someone else. At the same time, Terry's friend Karen, it says friend here, but I'm thinking it's his girlfriend. She bumps into Todd, who she can't tell isn't Terry. Like, Terry's this like kind of put together, cool kid, and Todd is, hair hanging in his face, shaking like. And she's
Clammy.
like, "Oh, yeah. Are you high?"
Yeah.
I hope that's not how I degrade when I'm high. That's a pretty big degrading right there.
In that moment, I was like, "How is she not gonna know who he is?" And then when she said, "Are you high?" I was like, "Oh, well, that's clever enough, I guess."
Yeah, I guess
to get around the fact that he looked like so tweaked out.
Yeah,
but also like this guy doesn't drink. Like they make a point that he's very straight laced.
Yeah.
So
true.
it's not the kind of
about that.
If it's his girlfriend,
he does smoke weed though. At one point,
you're right. He does.
So he's
the guy who works at the hospital is giving people random hits from a joint.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
He's just ahead of the curve. He's got that Cali sober life.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what's that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, that's the term. I didn't come up with it. All right, so Todd reveals his true identity, and she runs off, and she runs into some friends who are like, "Oh, let's go find him. This will be really fun to catch him and beat him up." And so everybody goes out to hunt for him. Meanwhile, the mom finds out that Todd has returned to Shadow Woods, and starts appearing in a completely different movie where she is separate from all the action that's happening, but she is doing a lot. She is drinking a lot and just chewing up the scenery for the rest of this movie as she cries and yells at the phone and falls on the floor and eats leftovers. And she just, it's all happening kind of as a side quest to the actual story of what's happening in this movie.
It felt like they just had her for like 3 days and they just stayed in that apartment with her and let her just go wild. And they're like, we'll just splice this in randomly throughout.
So Todd then finds the doctor's body in the woods, and he also finds her gun, and he goes off to find his brother. Back at one of the houses, there's a lady getting ready to go on a date, and her date's this nervous guy, and Terry comes in and kills him and hangs his head by the front door so that when she opens the door, she thinks he's there through the peephole, but he's actually dead. And
that's what was edited out of my version.
Oh, okay. The head hanging there?
Yeah, because she gets up and I see her go to the door, and then she's like on the ground, terrified of what she just saw. And then the next thing is, the guy coming around the corner or whatever.
That head's probably one of the best effects in the whole movie. It's great,
man.
And so then Terry continues his murder spree. He sees a couple of his friends playing tennis, and then somehow having sex on a diving board, which seems just like the mechanics seem very complicated. Like, I'm not sure how you make this work. There's no way to get leverage. I just don't see what they're doing. But they both get killed, and a lot of blood falls in the pool. But thankfully, 30 seconds later, when somebody else wanders into the pool area, he's cleaned it all up. No one ever notices blood anywhere in this movie.
They have one hell of a pool cleaner.
It's really very effective. But eventually, though, Artie, he's one of the friends. He finds the bodies of his friends, and Todd tries to hold him at gunpoint to convince him that Terry's the bad guy. And Nobody believes Todd, but then Terry stabs a carving fork. What do you call that thing with a two? It's a fork, but
It's
like you use to carve your turkey with.
Yeah.
Stabs Artie in the neck with that. And so we're down to basically Karen is the only one left. And so she discovers the truth about Terry and Todd. They chase around a bunch. Then Karen goes and finds the lady who was getting ready to go on a date earlier. She had a baby in a crib and she just left it there when she died, obviously. And then so Karen just grabs the baby and runs off with it. And then Mom finally decides she's going to join back into the movie. And she goes and finds her dead fiance. And it all culminates at a swimming pool scene where Terry and Todd fight each other in the pool, and Todd gets pulled out of the pool, and that's when Mom shows up and shoots Terry, killing him. But we find out she thinks she actually shot Todd, and when she finds out that it was really Terry who she shot, who was the murderer, no question, Terry was the murderer, she shoots herself in the head. And I guess Karen just runs off. She's just gone at the end of the movie. And so you hear police sirens in the distance. I'm assuming Todd's going to get blamed again because all the evidence points to Terry. And so, of course, Todd's going back to the asylum for that.
Freeze frame on Todd. Yeah.
Freeze frame on Todd.
I didn't understand about the ending. I know there's a lot more to discuss than just the ending. But so the mom finds the bloody shirt that belongs to Terry, correct?
Yep.
That I thought made her realize Terry's the killer, and that's why he changed his clothes. So when she shoots Terry, I thought she knew she was shooting Terry. I don't understand why she thought the striped shirt was proof that Terry was the killer, but then thought she shot Todd, unless it was edited out of my version.
No,
but I was very confused.
It's really that confusing.
Okay, good to know.
This is not the movie to find any rhyme or reason.
Yeah,
I couldn't decide if she knew it was Terry and didn't care because again, they're very close in like a very strange way. So I don't know if that was part of it or I don't know.
Right.
Lest we forget, this all takes place on Thanksgiving night, where I don't know if like what's in the water.
Thanksgiving by two things: one, that turkey fork, and then the line. It's not cranberry sauce. Delivered at least 6 times throughout.
So many times.
Every time there's blood. Well, it's not cranberry sauce.
And but I think he even says it to himself at one point. He's just like, "That's not cranberry sauce." I'm like, dude, who are you saying that for?
He's a guy who just have you ever told a joke and it didn't hit, so you try to like say it again, thinking people will pick up on the punchline? He's just doing that to everybody.
Right.
No, what I find hilarious about this movie is how many people are trying to have sex on Thanksgiving evening.
Yeah.
It's like
everybody's really horned up in an environment like it's playing out like it's happening on a college campus almost, but it's just an apartment complex.
Like you think it's like spring break.
Right. Everyone is really, really horny.
Like people are going on dates. Who goes on a date on Thanksgiving? Like what restaurant are you going to?
Yeah.
I guess they bounded by the mechanics of diving board sex. I just don't think it will work.
Yeah.
Just to point out real fast, there are rare reports of increased sexual desire and function in persons that have taken substantial doses of tryptophan.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I don't know. I'm usually ready to nap.
So they're trying to tether it to the idea that like turkey makes you horny.
That's what I think. That's ridiculous.
I don't buy that.
I just don't buy it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just so funny because there's nothing else Thanksgiving about this movie.
Yeah.
It's just they need an excuse, I guess, for one family to be together, and the rest are just kind of off in their own movie. Like everyone in this movie is in their own movie.
Yeah.
Like the doctor who's looking for whichever one.
Todd.
Like walking through the woods with no reason to even think he's out there.
Yeah, and the manager of the property or whatever is like, I'd start by looking on back porches. And it's like, okay, thanks, dude.
Yeah,
sure.
It's just It feels like one of those things. It felt like when I watched that movie Spookies. It just felt like it was 10 different things kind of mixed into a bowl. I mean, there were things I liked, though. I liked the main dude. I liked both his performance as Terry and Todd. I thought that was kind of fun to watch. And
I'll have a million things to pick apart about this movie, but it's a ton of fun. Like, I watch it every year.
Yeah.
If I can go back to the aphrodisiac things, I've been doing some calculations while you guys have been talking. They say you have to take.
It's like being in a different movie. Mondo's in a different podcast.
Yeah.
I can't just let this fact slide.
Mondo's working on his Masters and Johnson paper.
Yeah.
So you have to eat 6 milligrams worth. 6 grams worth of tryptophan in order to get aphrodisiac effects. Okay, so that's a lot. That would equal 14.63 pounds of turkey.
Oh my gosh.
So if you can eat that much turkey and then bone after,
yeah.
Good for you.
Gosh, that's like the steak challenge in the Great Outdoors or whatever.
Yeah.
14 pounds of turkey. I didn't know. I always thought the urban legend was that even a bite was affecting you.
So this would be 410 milligrams per pound of light meat. For dark meat, it would be 303 milligrams. So you have to eat a lot of dry ass meat, 14 pounds of it to get any effect.
Yeah. Ooh.
That's why I always eat the dark meat.
Well, that's why they have gas station boner pills. It's easier, you know.
Yeah.
That's the name of your next punk band.
If anyone's listening, do not touch any supplement at a gas station.
No. I also loved the mother. I mean, I know she was beyond over the top, but I loved anytime it returned to her, I was there for it. I just loved, and I guess I read that her and the director didn't get along. I don't know anything more than that, but I think on the Wikipedia it just said that they had many an argument.
Well, and she's like a serious actress.
Yeah.
She was married to Woody Allen for a while.
Yeah, and she like has had her own acting studio.
Yeah.
In New York. Like she was known.
She hosted Saturday Night Live. Like I don't know if we've ever had anyone.
Oh wow, really?
But mostly like she was really doped up during it. It was like very incoherent. It's like one of the most notorious episodes.
What?
Oh my gosh, I've got to look at it. Yeah.
Like, being married to Woody Allen, I think will do that to you.
Well, I know she was caught at some point in her life with cocaine.
Yeah,
but
that tracks.
Yeah, maybe it was to host SNL.
No, she was only 44 when this was made.
Yeah, I found her really grating. Like, and maybe that's my own mother issues, but like she was just really like over the top annoying. Like she keeps calling the operator to try to get a hold of her fiance, who's the manager of the apartment. I don't know why she doesn't like walk down there or like
That's what I was saying when I was watching it. It's obviously like a 2-minute walk away, and she just keeps screaming at the phone, "I need my boyfriend."
And then eventually it cut back to her what felt like so many times on that call. And then finally she was like, okay, thank you. As if they were solving the problem. Like, what changed? It's as if they didn't know what to have her doing narratively, but they had her and wanted to make use of her.
She's the real actress. So.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of
a shower at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street, kind of the parallels where they hired this like famous soap actress to play this unhinged mother. They're very, very similar.
Yeah. True.
I just love this movie because anytime there's an option of like where you can make an acting decision, they've gone with the weirdest one. Every character in this movie, like they say lines in ways that humans don't speak. Like the lines don't even make sense about 50% of the time, but it's fine. Like it's just an experience. You just go into it.
This is firmly like in the sleepaway camp style of just like everything's a choice. It's a big choice, and even when it doesn't work, it's such a big choice. You're just like, okay, that's entertaining.
Yeah,
Jody will appreciate this, but there's a show on Dropout TV called Make Some Noise.
Yeah,
well, they'll give everyone a line they have to say, and then the host will be like, "Now give me extra, give me this," to where it gets as absurd as possible. And all I could think of was them doing this on this set.
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
I have an article up I'm going to read after the podcast about her disastrous appearance on SNL. I know nothing about this, but I'm going to devour this.
We can review that for Patreon.
Yeah.
There we go. So the actress, just to give her the credit, her name is Louise Lasser. She was actually in Frankenhooker. She was also in, she was in Requiem for a Dream.
What?
And she was in 3 episodes of HBO's Girls.
Hey, this is back-to-back weeks with Requiem for a Dream actors.
Yeah. Actresses. Well, you know what this also is? This is our 3rd episode in the last 4 with a Ted Raimi cameo.
That's right. I forgot all about Ted Raimi. Ted Raimi is in this movie for 15 seconds, selling condoms out of his jacket in the bathroom at the drive-in in the first scene.
Was it that hard to get condoms back then? Like, did you have to be of a certain age to buy them?
It's Florida. Who knows what's going on there?
I forgot about that. This is set in Florida. That explains everything that happens from then on.
Yeah, no further explanation needed. I didn't realize that was her in Frankenhooker. Now I've looked her up and I've realized that she was familiar to me. Yeah.
So that was Ted Raimi's first role at the age of 19.
Wow. Really?
Do you know how he got it? Like, why was he in the mix with those filmmakers and with that cast?
I feel like Ted Raimi just walks around sets and just like, you look interesting and put you in for a scene.
Yeah,
just strolls onto it as a kid in a cameo in CSI. Like, let's walk through the.
You got some condoms on you? Sure. You're in the movie.
He does have a great look. I mean, I like Ted Raimi now, but I like young Ted Raimi does have a really fun look.
Yeah. Well, because we did Candyman a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He has a great little bit in there.
Yeah, he's great in that. What is he in where what am I picturing? Is it Wishmaster where he gets he dies in the beginning?
Yes, because the thing falls on him.
Yeah, getting crushed. Yeah. Yeah, that's
underrated movie, by the way. That's a fun movie.
Yeah, that's really
I love Wishmaster. Yeah.
All right, Mondo, what do you think of this movie?
It's cool. No, I enjoyed this a lot. It was ridiculous and fun. The Oedipus storyline was a bit icky, for lack of a better term, because they have a scene where he kisses her in bed, and it is not the way you would kiss a family member. I mean, unless you're Tom Brady, right? He likes kissing people on the lips. You know this is a Tom Brady thing that he likes kissing people on the lips.
Just because I kissed him open mouth that one time.
Hey, you can do what you want, Jason. You're a grown ass man with a mortgage, and you can do whatever the hell you want. But I really like the goofiness of this all. It's a fun 80s slasher. Like, if you think 80s slasher, this fits right in that motif, and that's kind of bread and butter horror for me. And for all of its faults, and we've listed a bunch of the faults that they have, at the end of the day, when I finished watching this, I had a good time. And I enjoyed the whole thing. At no point is it boring. And that's a big deal. You're always kind of, even on the train wreck spots, you're watching just to see what happens next. And that's always a good thing, no matter what. Like, we've talked about it before. You can make a bad movie, but if it's fun, it has a chance. You just can't make it boring. So I'll just say I love the fact that there is some Thanksgiving horror that isn't Thanksgiving. And we got Thanksgiving last year too.
Last year, yeah. It's very solid.
Very solid movie. Very fun slasher.
All right, Jody.
Yeah, no, I love this movie. So I made the decision to watch this with one of my kids because they wanted to watch a horror movie with me. Hey, listen, we've crossed some Rubicons here at this point. There's no going back. And so when we got into, normally when we watch a movie, I kind of have a rule of like, hey, while we're watching the movie, like, you put your phones down, and we don't talk, like, you actually like watch the movie. But for some movies, I switch that up and say, it's okay to talk during this one. You can make fun of the movie. That's part of the fun. This was one of those movies. This is one of those movies that you laugh at for the comedy moments that are supposed to be there, the ones that aren't supposed to be there. Overall, though, it's really fun. There's a lot of fun stuff. There's some weird acting decisions. There's some really good gore for a very low budget. And yeah, it's a good time. And the Thanksgiving theme is barely there, but I'll take what I can get because there's only a handful of options. And I watch this one every year. I love it.
I totally forgot, Jody. Another scene I loved is when he walks into, I forgot where he's walking. He's walking into a living room through a sliding glass door, and there's a radio playing. And the radio says, a hand for a hand, an eye for an eye. Yeah. And then they show the guy with the eye patch, and he had just cut the hand off his future stepfather, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking brilliant.
Andrew, what else do you?
There's clever moments in here. It's not incompetent by any means.
No,
it's just weird. No, I won't say incompetent. I'll say weird on this one. Like there's a lot of bizarre acting choices, but I still think it's fairly well put together and watchable.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I was staring at the incompetent part, I'm thinking like there's just a lot of continuity errors, which again, I don't know if it's a budget or they didn't care or they're just like throwing shit together. Like there's even a scene where the boys are in the back of the car and there's like something on top of them. I couldn't tell what it was, like a baseball bat or there's like something on top of them as they're sleeping. We cut to the mother, we cut back and it's completely gone. There's just like
it was like a toy gun.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a gun or not.
I think it was. Yeah, it's like a little toy rifle.
And then there's just like so many where they use the exact same like camera setup for different times. There's like some like courtyard that they keep walking through, and the camera's set up in the exact same location over and over. It's like the least dynamically shot movie I think I've ever seen.
One thing I love is that Jody and I will talk about how much fun we had of something, and then Jason just picks it apart.
Well, no,
Jason's a critic on the show.
To me, that's engaging. Like that makes it even more interesting. It's like, why and how are they doing this?
No, I absolutely love it. I'm not saying it facetiously when I say I enjoy that about you.
No, yeah. Well, again, one of my all-time favorite movies is Sleepaway Camp, which again makes these really big swings, just like this one does. And the effects are amazing. It's easily the best part of the movie. It's almost like an effects reel. Like where there's like we just need scenarios. Let's come up with all kinds of shit.
Well, I mentioned Mutilator earlier. I put these both in the same family of like weird acting choices, good gore, and like a lot of fun.
And the other thing that makes it scene in the beginning of this was one of my favorite kills in the history of slasher films, is because I love the way it shows his face. He's not dead because the kid's been hitting him with it, but he's hacking.
Yeah. And we haven't talked about it, but the music is actually really well done in this. It makes it very watchable.
Yeah, who did the music? Because I also noticed the music. I was like, this is actually kicking. This is working for me.
Yeah, it's Richard Einhorn, which hasn't done a ton.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a lot of like random TV stuff, it seems. But like it almost sounds like the Terminator, like the OG Terminator soundtrack a little bit. Just that kind of 80s synth, little drum and bass almost. Which I think goes a long way to making this movie more watchable. Like it's one of those things, like if it's a slower thing, you might snooze a little bit, but that really kind of keeps it going. But yeah, there's just so many weird acting choices and just non sequiturs. There's like, the single mother who has like a relatively young baby, 6 months, and she's like trying to go up pick up a sugar daddy, and she's like telling the baby like, "I'm gonna get you a rich daddy."
Yeah, that's the kind of
Thanksgiving.
That's the kind of stuff that made me feel like I missed something. But then I would rewind it and I'd be like, nope, still just as confused.
That's just what it is.
Yeah.
The tray of liquor too that she has for him is like creme de menthe, creme de banana.
Yeah, banana liqueur. Yeah.
Yeah. That's even the most disgusting cocktail of all time. Oh, and when they're doing Cuervo tequila shots, I had to turn away from the set because that's one bad night in my early 20s.
The actress who's doing the shot, who's being taught how to take the shot.
Yeah.
I thought she was really good.
Yeah.
Karen, I guess it was Karen. Yeah, it was good. I thought she was really natural, but to everyone's point, everyone's in a different movie. She's actually very grounded and natural in in an American Graffiti type of way. And then there's other people that are on, melodrama. They're dialed up to an 11.
Yeah.
No, I think it might even be a lack of direction. Do you think it might even be a lack of direction where the directors just like do whatever you want?
And I think when there's tonal differences between actors, I think that's on the director. Unless they were just belligerent and wouldn't listen. But I feel like one of the director's main jobs is like tonal cohesion. and it's not the actor's job to know what everyone else is doing. You know, they might not even be in a scene with someone who's in the movie doing something that's completely different. I think it's the director's job to be like, hey, let's dial it in a little bit, but dial it back a little bit. But I felt like everybody else did. I had never seen this till today, though.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah. Cool. And actually, I've never seen Mutilator. I think I've started it because the cover is so familiar to me, and if it is available somewhere on streaming, I think I've started it. But I don't have an intimate knowledge of it. But Blood
Mutilator
Rage
is one of these very regional slashers. It was shot in North Carolina by a guy who's not a filmmaker. And like it's his friends that do all the roles, but really like intense score scenes.
I'm gonna watch
with
that.
A goofy acting and weird Southern accents. I love it.
Yeah. I don't know if the sequel's come out yet. I know I watched it a year ago at Joe Bob's Drive-In, but the sequel's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I don't think it's officially come out yet. I've been looking for it.
They take the wackiness of the first one and amplify it.
So wait, when did they? Was like a sequel, like a recent sequel?
Yeah, They premiered it last year at Joe Bob's Drive-In Jamboree here in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada.
Same director, Buddy Cooper, came back.
Oh, interesting.
Another scene I found really just kind of funny is that when those two couples are kind of not even couples, but there's two guys and two girls. Two of them are doing like tequila shots, and the other guys are playing like a video game, like some sort of racing game. But it's so long ago that they don't have multiplayer. You have to take turns playing the game because one person gets up in the middle of it. In my mind, I'm like, oh wait, but you didn't pause. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, like when we were kids. You beat your friend's house. You guys be playing Mario Brothers. I get the next life, and they would die, and then you'd have your head turn. You turn back around. They pretend like they didn't.
Yeah,
even though we all know they died.
Yep.
Oh, and realize going back to the composer, Rich Einhorn, he did the music for The Prowler. Don't Go in the House, Eyes of a Stranger, Shockwaves, a couple episodes of Tales from the Dark Side. So he had a horror past, which is cool.
Okay,
I didn't see those. I might have missed those, but but yeah, by far I think the best things are the score and the gore.
Yeah. But it moved. You know, that's the thing is I've watched, I'm sure as you guys have, watched a lot of these lesser known 80s slashers, and sometimes they're surprisingly difficult to sit through.
Yeah.
But this one wasn't. Like I said, I was full focus. It moved. It was making me laugh sometimes when it was supposed to, but other times when it wasn't. But either way, I was engaged. And, as you said, ultimately when it was over, I had fun. And I would actually watch it. The first thought I had was, I want to watch this with a group of friends.
Yeah.
Having a beer or two, because it was genuinely light on its feet and enjoyable for as lost as it was. And I really I agree that visually it was nowhere. It was never too interesting visually, but then all of a sudden at the end, I like that shot after the mother's realizing she shot Terry, right? And what is she yelling? She's yelling like it's not Todd or something. What is she? Or it was Todd. What is she saying?
It was
Todd. Yeah. And it just pushes past her as she raises the gun to her head, and then the quick shot of the blood and the gun on the ground. Like that was a cool little moment. It was like all of a sudden the DP and the director woke up for that, and they had that one nice intentional move ready.
Yeah, they did that. They snowboarded that one and forgot to do the rest.
Yeah.
There was one shot also by the pool where the woman's running around with a baby, and obviously just a doll at this point.
Yeah, it's a doll.
She sits next to the pool with the baby, and my anxiety just went way up. I'm like,
yeah,
you're sitting next to a pool in this dangerous situation, holding a baby. I was like, ugh. And then she puts the baby
she puts it in a cabinet.
In the cabinet, I'm like, what is happening?
Dude, that baby's resilient. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. I have the scene up right now where she's yelling after she realizes she shot the wrong son. And I feel like this is why this actress said yes to the role.
Yeah.
Was to get to do this scene, because it just stays on her for so long. It's such an actor moment. but
or
I liked
she
it.
really likes Thanksgiving leftovers. They just like, so you can have as much as you want. You go to town while you're sitting on the floor in front of the fridge, as we all usually do at like, around midnight on Thanksgiving when your second wave hits.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's go to our episode or movie rating. We do 0 to 5, 5 being the best, 0 being the worst. I don't know how you rate a movie like this, but give it whatever you want. Andrew.
I would say you said 5 is the best.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd give it a 3.5 because, which I know maybe that sounds high, but as far as like rewatchability and for what it is, it's a 3.5. No, I don't think anyone would start Blood Rage or Slasher expecting a 5 or above. So it hit squarely at a 3.5 for me.
All right, Mondo.
Yep, I'm in the exact same boat with that. 3.5. It's a fun movie. This is probably my second or third watch of it, and I think my first watch was when they did it on the last drive-in, and I've had a blast with it every time. If I can have fun with the movie every time I watch it, that's an all right movie in my opinion.
All right, Jody.
Yeah, you said you don't know how you would rate this movie. I rate it purely on entertainment value, and entertainment value wise, for me, I'm giving it just a little bit more. It's a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm with Jody on this. Like, except for a couple grading parts, on like especially with the mother character, which is probably my own issues, but it's just so much fun. It's just so much fun. All right,
I'm like, was I low?
No, what you want, man?
Because I had a great time with this.
I know. I thought you guys were going to make fun of me for my 3.5 for me loving this movie.
I'm a generous rater.
Yeah,
we're all in our 40s. Aside from Jason, Jody and I are not the most critical people. We're like, that was fun, and I was high when I watched it. It was great. Like,
yeah.
Well, you see, when you reach your 60s, you start, being a little more generous.
Jason's gone through his generous part and gone to his grumpy old man.
Right.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to do a quick shout out.
Gobble, gobble. This is Onyx the Fortuitous, Slayer of the Bright Realm, and you're listening to Dads from the Crypt. I don't know.
I know that guy.
Yeah, I couldn't resist.
It's so funny. I realized that little shout out was recorded in my garage office, but before it was fully renovated. That was a little bit of a throwback for me. I remember sitting in here with just a desk and a microphone and my laptop, I think.
Yeah, I remember seeing all the boxes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and now I've been nesting here for a year.
Nice. All right, Mondo, give us your song of the day.
Oh, see, I thought I was prepared, and then I clicked off my browser tab. I found it though. It's the date. What is this coming out? The Monday after Thanksgiving. So I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving out there. And I had to pick a song that just it has nothing to do with Thanksgiving. It's actually kind of depressive. It's a black metal. It's a band called Cobalt. They do this weird mesh of like black metal with Southern sludge, even though they're from Colorado. And they're actually a really, really great band. And the lead singer of them is a 2-person band, a singer and then a musician, or I shouldn't say they're both musicians, but an instrumentalist, I guess. And the singer ended up leaving, and I think he's had a lot of mental health problems in and out of jail and stuff like that after leaving the band. But in 2000 and oh my god, I just had it up, and now I'm just gonna sound like such an idiot. 2019, I think it was. They came out with the or 2009. They came out with the record Eater of Birds, because what did we just do? We just ate some birds. And the song I'm picking off that album is Eater of Birds, which is the last song. And it's 10 minutes long. Sorry for anyone that actually tries to follow along with my playlist. But it's a fantastic song, very, very well woven. They've released fantastic records, and they're not your standard black metal fare. So people that are a little bit intimidated by the constant tremolo guitar picking and shrieking, they do add a lot of different dynamics into their music, which makes it really interesting. I'd probably say their best record is probably Gin. Eater of Birds definitely gets more fanfare from the underground because it was more rooted in the black metal vein. They started to expand more when Gin came out. But song of the week, Eater of Birds, off the album Eater of Birds by the band Cobalt. Check them out.
Actually, I've been listening to Sonolith quite a bit this week.
Man, I was bummed because they played last night for the record release show, but they didn't. The opening band didn't go on until 9 p.m. And I was just too exhausted at that point. I couldn't make it out to it. I'm fucking old.
Well,
I've hit the gym a bunch of days this week too, and like my body's just feeling it today. I did a 3-hour seminar. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
One of my favorite bands is Alkaline Trio, and I went to see them in LA last year, and I bought myself like a VIP balcony seat, and I got there minutes before they took the stage, and I left the second they left. They were done, and I was just sitting in a chair the entire time, and I was like, "This is being 40."
Which where was that?
Well, now I think the theater, I forget what the theater is now called, but when I went, it was just like the Nokia Live, the Nokia Theater that's by LA Live. I think it's already been renamed though. It's already something else.
Yeah, okay. No, there was like a small theater that I was like, man, should I just get the balcony because I don't want to stand this whole time.
Oh, it was so nice.
Yeah. You know what's crazy when Fabio Frizzi did the Zombies composer cut down here, it was standing room only except for like 5 tables that you had to pay 4 times as much if you wanted to sit at the table. Which kind of sucked because I was like, I should have just dragged a bar stool in there and just, what are they gonna do? Still awesome experience if anyone gets a chance to see Fabio Frizzi live. That was a core memory I'll have my entire life in my life.
Nice. That's cool. Well, I mean, another shout out to the expandable stool that I bought for when I go to the conventions. They have to stand in line, where it's like this thing that like you just unturn it and then pulls out into a stool. They can just sit wherever you want. It's perfect.
I just saw that at a flea market this weekend. I saw somebody crank one of those open and sit down. Are they like dependable? How does it lock in place?
There's like it locks itself. The only downside, it's a little heavy, so you have to like be prepared to like carry it around. But it's solid.
That's cool. Yeah,
I'm a tall guy. I can sit on it very comfortably.
Yeah.
Everyone under the age of 40 just skip past this part.
I know.
Everyone over the age of 40 is like, tell me more. This sounds amazing.
Yeah. Tell me what comfortable shoes you've bought recently too.
Well, no, I've gone full orthopedic, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna talk shoes. I bought some of those On running shoes.
Those.
Not the most comfortable things to stand in. But for walking, oh my god, it is a delight to walk in those shoes.
This is a shoe chat at
Let's talk about our favorite suppositories and fiber supplements.
Yeah,
you gotta love that witch hazel. If you know, you know. All right, Jody, give us some horror news.
All right, it hasn't been that long since we recorded last, so I don't have a ton of stuff, but this is pretty fresh news because tonight on Sunday, the 24th today?
24th.
Yeah, the 24th. The Simpsons just aired their second Halloween anthology of the year. They've done a double thing before, like they did one at Thanksgiving of Horror a few years ago. I think maybe 2 years ago they did Not It, which was an It parody in addition to the Treehouse of Horror. This one is Simpsons Wicked This Way Comes, and all 3 stories are Ray Bradbury based. And so one of them is like a Fahrenheit 451 parody, others like a doppelganger story, but they're supposed to be like along the lines of Bradbury stories. And I haven't watched it yet because it just came out like an hour ago. But I still watch The Simpsons every week, and especially when they do any of the anthology stuff or their horror stuff. Apparently, this is supposed to be more horror than their actual Treehouse last week.
Wow.
I think I don't remember. Like the main story last week was a Venom parody. So Treehouse is expanded out, and half the time it's not even horror. I think Mr. and Mrs. Smith got a version, but either way, this is the more horror one of the year, more fall vibes because it's Ray Bradbury. And so I'm definitely going to check that out probably right after we get off this.
That's fun.
All right. One other thing to talk about, as you know, we've been documenting the rise of public domain characters in horror movies. We've got Winnie the Pooh. We've got Bambi. We've got Peter Pan. What was that one?
The mean one, the Grinch one.
The mean one, yes.
That one I go to bat for that one. That was really good.
Well, Maybe I've got another one for you, because this week they have revealed a trailer for Popeye the Slayer Man.
Yes. I'm so excited for this.
I hope it's good. I really do hope it's good. It sounds so stupid. I love it. It sounds so stupid, but it makes me happy.
Do you think he's gonna be shoving meth down his throat instead of spinach when he needs to power up?
Man.
It takes place at a spinach factory, right? Like
or
a
just
canning.
like straight pot. It's just straight pot leaves.
Yeah.
We're gonna get first of all pot does make people chill as fuck. Pot wouldn't turn someone into a slasher.
I don't know. There was those what was that one? The incredibly strange people who started, but the one with the turkey.
What?
That's what I'm gonna find the name of this movie. There was this movie that was in the 70s. This is
great radio here.
Okay, yeah, it's good stuff. The incredibly strange creatures who stopped living and became mixed up zombies. This movie came out in 1964. Wow. And I remember that pot plays a role in turning these people into zombies. There's a turkey involved in some way.
It's a good poster.
Yeah, it's Ray Dennis Steckler, so it's just cheap, drive-in movie type stuff. But yeah, no, pot turned people into zombies in that one, I think.
That's great.
Anyway, Popeye the Slayer Man. I love the title. The title makes me laugh. Apparently, this is one of two Popeye horror projects that are happening simultaneously. We'll get another one also next year. This public domain horror thing, like, I have gotten mixed results from watching them, but I don't care. Like, I have fun with it. I haven't watched any of the Steamboat Willie ones. Have y'all seen any of those?
No. I saw the trailer. It looks awful.
Don't think it's out yet. Yeah, I saw the trailer.
They look really terrible.
I think I saw the trailer before Terrifier.
Yeah.
One that I'm excited about, there's one that's called Oswald Down the Rabbit Hole. And Oswald was the character prior to Mickey Mouse. Like, he was the Disney's big character. This one has a lot of animation in it. So it actually makes me kind of curious if they're going to do like a Roger Rabbit type thing where the killer comes out of the TV or the movie or whatever. It seems a lot more interesting than just let's slap a Mickey Mouse mask on this generic slasher. That's what Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey Part 1 was. Part 2, they actually realized, wait, we're making a Winnie the Pooh slasher. We should have some fun with it. And Part 2 is actually pretty fun. Tigger's out here saying, all kinds of Freddy Krueger-esque puns. It's good stuff. So yeah, Popeye the Slayer Man. We've already got a pun right there in the title, so I'm in.
I need all these characters now in Mortal Kombat, now the public domain. Let me kill some people with Popeye.
Oh yeah. Anything else?
Right, that's all I got.
There's one, and this I was gonna bring it up earlier. We're talking about musicals, but I decided to save it. Supposedly, in an interview, Miley Cyrus says that she really, really, really wants to make a musical version of Mandy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be... I'm for it, though, man. That'd be chaos, and I kind of love it.
And she wants to play the Nicolas Cage character.
Speaking of Miley Cyrus, you guys have seen Smile 2 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I saw
Did you not think that was really... that the main character was supposed to be basically Miley Cyrus?
I definitely got that vibe.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of Smile 2, quick review. I watched it this week. Loved it. Like, Smile 1, pretty good. Smile 2, loved it.
Okay, so I fucked up when I watched this movie. And I was incredibly high when I watched this movie. And this is a movie that works better when you're sober, actually, because there's a lot of intricacies in there that I did not catch. So I need to rewatch it, but I still had fun.
Yeah, Jason, you were talking about camera work in this movie that we watched today.
Yes.
In Smile 2, there's a lot of really cool shots.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of overhead stuff and interesting, like, flipping things over. Like, I've really enjoyed the camera work in Smile 2, surprisingly.
Speaking of mini reviews, I tried watching Azrael while I was really, really high.
I started that too.
For like the first 30 minutes, I was like, I am too high for this movie. I don't understand what the fuck is happening. It's stressing me out. I'm going to finish it the next day. Then when I watched it the next day, I was like, I'm too sober for this movie. I'm not on this movie at all.
You need to find that fine balance between high and sober.
Yeah, I no offense to the movie, but I did shut it off. But I'll give it a chance. But I didn't get through it. I was not high. I was just tired. But I'd also just watched Trap, the M. Night movie, and so I think I was like done watching stuff that night.
I think I like Trap way more than I should have because it's such a bad movie. But I laughed through most of it, and
yeah,
I can live with that.
That was just fun. I liked it. But yeah,
it was shot on film.
Like so dour and serious and obtuse in many ways.
The fact it was shot on film immediately makes me pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, Azrael is worth watching. It's interesting. It's well done in many ways, but there's also like a lot of narrative stuff that,
I'll watch it for sure. But you know, there is something to be said that you have to be in the right mood for a movie like that, I think. And I just have not been in the right mood for that movie because it's been some dark days in my household, and I just don't want to watch dark movies right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of being in the right mood for a movie, I watched the Street Trash remake this week. I don't know what mood I need to be in for that one.
Jody,
I haven't hit that mood yet.
That's the kind of movie you need to take gas station boner pills for before you watch.
How was it? I was thinking of watching it.
So the effects are really fun. It's still very much in the trauma vein.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge trauma guy. Like I can only see so many dicks getting ripped off in a movie before I'm like, we're doing it again. And it happens multiple times in this movie. And so it's all right. Like I enjoyed it a lot more than the original. I'm not a fan of the original at all, but it's all right.
All right. Before we wrap up, you know,
real quick, only because Jody was talking about dicks getting ripped off. There's a movie I just watched called Members Club, which is a horror comedy from England about a middle-aged. I guess, yeah. It's a middle-aged group of male strippers who get hired for an event by some witches, and then shit just goes downhill because the witch wants dicks. And it's actually incredibly fun. I think it'd be at least fun. Jody, I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
I can't enjoy dicks being ripped off.
Someone just clip that to
Members Club.
Yeah.
All right. You gotta look this up.
Yeah, real fun.
So, Andrew, you're our guest, so I always ask the guests to do the dad advice. But I wanted to ask you specifically how, after you've done, you know, Onyx, you know, big movie, with big cast and everything, what you learned from that movie that you're going to use going forward.
Oh gosh, I mean, I learned a million things making that I'll use going forward. I think, I guess the biggest lesson would be to work with the right collaborators. And I think with Onyx, we did. But I was very specific about finding the right collaborators, from our cast to the department heads, especially on an indie film. I had a friend describe it as being on a road trip with a raccoon stuck in the car when there's like a bad apple on an indie set. It can really take you down. And so it just reminded me to be steadfast about that, and to trust your gut if you think maybe you've hired the wrong person, or if there's someone that isn't trusting of your vision, if there's a department head that's kind of undercutting you or second guessing you. You don't have time for that on any film, but definitely not an indie film. You don't have time to be second guessed. You know, the decision has to be made and acted on, or else you'll lose money and never get it back. So I think, trusted collaborators. And that's why even on Frankenbabes, I wanted to work with the department heads from Onyx. I wanted to make something that I wasn't on camera for, that had the same, technical team, because I loved working with them so much. The makeup people, the DP, the wardrobe stylist, and all of that.
That's awesome.
I think that can be drawn out to any creative thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, good collaborators make all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And that's why you see so many filmmakers work with the same team over and over, because you just get a second hand together that's invaluable.
Awesome. All right. Well, Andrew, thank you for joining us. Shout out where people can go to the Kickstarter again.
Go to frankenbabes.com. We're just raising funds for the post-production needs, sound, color, VFX, music, and you can watch a bit of the movie at the Kickstarter page and consider backing and get involved in my virtual film school. And the Kickstarter ends on December 9th.
All right. And where can people follow you for more updates?
Andrew Bowser, director, is what I am, and Onyx the Fortuitous official, if you want to hear from that guy.
Awesome. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone for listening. We would really appreciate if you would give us a rating and review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify, like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us at Dads from the Crypt Talk on TikTok. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Goodbye.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.